What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing another backtesting video on gold, and as always, I'm going to be revealing the whole strategy beforehand, giving you guys a free trading plan that you can go away and test for yourself. But if any of that sounds interesting to you, make sure to stick around until the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and let's get straight into the backtesting. Alright guys, so beforehand, just in case you haven't seen any of the previous videos, first of all, we're going to go through a full trading plan that I'm going to be testing and have tested for the past couple of years in the live market, and have found it to be very profitable for myself. So starting off, this is going to be a price action only strategy. And the main things that we're going to do in 3 basic steps: identify market structure and direction. This normally consists of starting off on the daily to get an overall directional narrative and bias, then working our ways down to the medium and intraday timeframes such as the 4-hour and the 1-hour to get a more precise understanding of the order flow and where the market is heading. And step 2 is to identify an area of interest where we're looking to either buy or sell. Of these, I've classified 2 different types. The first is an imbalanced level of supply or demand with liquidity resting above or below, and this is obviously following the overall order flow, which we identified in the first step. The second type is when we have a clear area of liquidity on the higher time frame and price sweeps that area of liquidity, and then we see a confirmation immediately afterwards. And for this strategy, the confirmation consists of a break of structure with imbalance, and we also need to see some liquidity taken out as well. So for example, I've drawn a picture here where we see price takes out that area of liquidity on the 1-hour time frame. Then on the lower time frame, we observe a change of character or a break of structure with imbalance. Price pulls back into the demand, and then we see price rally to the next point of liquidity. So that is basically what we're going to be testing in this video. So if we go over to this session, I've already started this session. You guys can already see that we have been backtesting already. So basically how I'm doing this is going from the beginning of 2021 up until the current date in order to collect sufficient data on gold. I don't know why that disappeared then, but yeah, so the real aim with this backtesting is to collect data on Mondays, as I've been noticing that my win rate is a little bit lower on Mondays. So I'm just testing whether it's worth keeping Mondays or just disregarding them altogether. And the way I'm doing this is simply by placing a trade whenever one appears on the chart, and then on FX Replay you can go to the analytics section and filter it by day. So I'm going to be seeing whether Mondays are profitable or not using this system. So starting off on the daily time frame, clearly gold is bullish at the moment, probably heading to some of these previous areas of liquidity. But if we go down to the lower time frames, as not much is happening just there. And so just marking out the current structure, we've had a mitigation of this area. Price has then broken structure again. Cool. And the B, for anyone unfamiliar, it just stands for break of structure. So currently gold sorry about that. So currently gold is clearly bullish, and the current range where we're looking to trade in is between this low and this high. So what I can see at the moment is that we have a couple of areas where we could look to go off. The one I'm liking at the moment is this area just here, and the reason is because This is the demand that broke the high. We also have this inducement resting above it. I wouldn't look to buy off this area here because there's no liquidity resting above it, which is why I'm considering this as a liquidity area where price is likely to sweep into the demand below before we see any reaction. So if we just play price and see what happens, if we get a pullback or not. Okay, so that top level did actually react. I am still seeing it likely that price comes down to this level since we have now created this liquidity above it. So we just keep playing price and see if it comes back to this level. Okay, there we go. So price is still bullish. We've had a sweep of liquidity into demand. So now I'd be looking to see if we can get some lower time frame confirmations. And because this was a 1 hour/4 hour area of demand, the confirmation for me would have to be on the 15-minute. So let's see if we get 15-minute break of structure. This is the area I'm looking at to go before price continues higher. Cool, so there we go. That would be our change of character. And the main area of demand that I would look at buying from would be this one. All of these areas below are already efficient, meaning that they've been, the imbalances have been filled. This one you can see, this is where the volume came in. We had that break of structure to the left as well. So all we do now is simply set the limit, have stops just below this low, targeting the swing high. And let's see how this reacts. Ideally we get something like that where we've built liquidity above it as well. You can see here, this would be an area where people would buy in the retracement, but we have all of this imbalance below, so we know price is likely to retrace a little bit more if we are to continue up. There's also nothing within this range here that is likely to cause price to reverse, which I sometimes like to use that as an extra compliment. You can see that price has clearly come into just this empty area where there's no liquidity for it to react from, which gives us a little bit more confidence that price is likely to respect our level and continue to the upside. We also have now generated all of this where you see we have multiple taps of this one zone. So in my opinion, price is likely to buy from this level. We'll monitor the 5-minute as well. There we go. So we broke this structure to the left as well, which is a good sign. Let's see if price can now continue. There we go. A lot of momentum coming from this area now. And there we go. Very clean setup that, actually, looking back at it. And now all we simply do is continue to follow the structure. We've had a break of this external high, meaning it's the main high in this overall higher time frame trend. And I'm just real quick going to look left to see where price may reverse from, if it is going to reverse. Okay, so the two main levels I'd look out for would be this high and this one here as well, as these are two major areas of liquidity where price could definitely react from. So yeah, we'll keep playing price for now and see if we do get a reaction or not. So this is a bit of a riskier setup, but I'm seeing a valid sell. So since price swept that major area of liquidity to the left, we've had this sort of sub breaker structure within the overall uptrend. Price has created this area of supply, which swept liquidity to the left. And we've also had this inducement below it as well. So this would be valid for us like a short-term trade. And I'm just going to target a 1 to 3 for this because that's my minimum risk to reward. And we'll see what happens with this. Boom, there we go. Almost stopped this out, but was a nice 1 to 3 setup. And notice that the reason I went off this supply is because it swept that major liquidity to the left. So a lot of the times you will see at least some reaction on the lower time frames once these higher time frame levels are swept, and if not, you will see a complete higher time frame pullback or even a reversal. Clearly price is still bullish, so we weren't looking for any major moves to the downside. As for now, what can we see? Price is kind of within this demand, but we haven't yet taken any liquidity to the downside. So I'd be hesitant to go off that level. Looks like it's, yeah, held actually. Okay, cool. So price is holding this demand. We had this sort of area of consolidation. We've now had a sweep of the low. Just there. So what I'd look for now would be, if price can start breaking some structure to the upside, I would consider going off this level. We do actually have this demand, which is a valid area, so I'm gonna place a limit on that. Have stops just a little bit below the demand as well, and target the high. And let's see what happens here. I didn't mark it on, by the way, but this would be my break of structure. It doesn't look like it's pulling back for us. Nope. So good analysis, but no entry on that, unfortunately. But we can mark this on now as a break. Again, just following this overall uptrend that we're in. Being mindful of the liquidity points as well, where we could see some larger pullbacks. That is a huge wick. I wonder if it touched our level actually. Yeah, so that once again would have slightly missed anyway. Not really seeing anything too clean right here. So I'll just play price on a little bit. See if we can break structure again. Sorry about that, guys. So I was just monitoring a trade that I was in. So back to what we were doing. Like I said, gold has broken structure once again, just here. As for areas to enter from, I'm liking this demand here. Actually, we swept all of this liquidity with this area. This one here, we could respect it, but it looks more like an inducement above this bottom zone. As you can see, this zone was left imbalanced as well. So unless price can generate some liquidity above this one, then this one, in my opinion, is the inducement. So let's look and see what price does. No liquidity above it at the moment, so I'm still looking at the bottom one. Cool, there we go. So bottom zone was tapped. And because this is a 15-minute POI, I would go to the 5-minute and the 3-minute for entries. As you can see, we don't have a break of structure yet, so no trade. I'm liking this. We've had a sweep of this low. If price can break this structure, then I would consider entering. Okay, so that would be our break of structure. As for entries, we have this 5-minute demand, and that is the one where I would set the limit. Stops below this low, target the high. Quite a mechanical process. There we go, zone is being respected. Let's have a look. Cool, very nice. And there we go, take profit hit on that. We'll mark on the next break of structure as well. Again, just simply following this uptrend. Also noting now that price is approaching that liquidity that I mentioned. So we could definitely see some sort of reaction from there. If not, price is likely to go to this one. So yeah, let's just see what happens with that. The next demand I would look at would be this one, which is the extreme of this current leg of the trend. But also looking out to see if we can get some sells now that that liquidity is taken. Okay, so I would still consider this a valid sweep trade because on the higher time frames, this would be a wick. So we wicked above the liquidity, followed by a break of structure to the downside. And overall looking for price to come and fill some of this imbalance as well. If we go on the 4-hour or even the daily, you can see that we failed to close above this wick, swept it. Now we should see some downside. So on the 15-minute, looking for some entries. Not really seeing much at the moment. Maybe if we get a reaction from there. Cool, so at the moment we've had a reaction from here. Price also broke this substructure just there, leaving behind this area. So I'm going to enter here and have a more conservative stop just above this liquidity, as price could sweep this area. And I'm going to be targeting the demand that we had marked Actually, this is quite a risky trade. I'm just going to go for a 1 to 3. Just there. And let's see. Very nice respect of that zone. There we go, very nice. So once again, notice how this supply was one that swept liquidity to the left and broke structure to the downside. And we started to also build liquidity here as well as an area of support that people were buying from. So that was a very clean zone. And all of that happened, remember, like I said, after the sweep of that higher time frame liquidity. So textbook setup there. Still overall bullish though, so looking to continue buying. Like I said, maybe at this area of demand if we get a reaction. Just change the color of that. We could also see some further buys as well. I'll just mark back on the 15-minute structure. So we've had mitigation of that area, break of structure just here. These areas I'm considering as just liquidity. Price has come into this area of supply. We swept the top of the supply. So if we are to see further sells, this would be the ideal level for me. Yeah, if price comes all the way back up to this zone, well, actually, yeah, that would be a valid zone as well. Considering price has built all of this. No, so I'm just going to leave that and look for the buys. I'm noticing now as well that as price was moving towards this demand, we were building a lot of liquidity. You can see price was moving very correctively, and a lot of the times when you see this, you'll get a pop to take out some of the liquidity. So definitely still looking for buys from this zone. This would need to be, for me, a 15-minute break of structure, given that it's an hourly point of interest. That would be a break of structure for me, but I'm not seeing any entries just yet. So yeah, this was also the main structure, so we broke that. As for entries, I'm seeing this zone. If we get a pullback to it. Also, because price has made this very impulsive move up and also respected supply, I want to see further confirmation within this zone. I don't just want to set a limit. So let's see what price does. And this would be a 5-minute break of structure since it's a 15-minute point of interest. So this is the level I want to see broken, which hasn't happened yet. All right, so now this is the level I want to see broken. And there we go. So we've had a sweep of this initial tap where people were buying. We've then had a break of this high. As for areas to enter from, we have this zone. So I'm going to set a limit there. And have a bigger stop loss. A 1 to 3 is good enough for me. The reason I'm doing that is to cover this low, as price could always come into there. But there we go. The reason I was so confident in that one was because on the 1 hour you can see we've had a sweep, break of structure with momentum, and then this is the demand which swept liquidity to the left. So once again, we'll delete all of this and mark on that break of structure. Like I said before as well, once that liquidity to the left was swept, we got this bigger, higher time frame pullback, but it wasn't necessarily a reversal. So I was only looking for shorter term sell positions rather than a complete reversal. Okay, so the next point of liquidity is quite far away, but we will mark on this area of supply as well as an area to look out for. Cool, where price could sell from, that is. And I'm also gonna just quickly get rid of some of these because they're just making the chart messy and we don't really want that. They're also irrelevant now as well because they're so far away. We'll just keep this on. Where could price buy from? We have this demand which broke the structure. See how price reacts within here. Okay, cool. So break a structure to the upside, but we didn't have any confirmation, which is fine. Expecting this low to go now as well. So just wait and see. There we go. This demand is still valid. I'm seeing this as an inducement since we swept liquidity to the upside. So it depends on how price reacts within this level, really. We also mitigated this refined zone as well, sweeping this liquidity. This I wouldn't count as demand, and we haven't really had any breaks either, so so here I'm not really seeing too much for entries. We did just sweep this tap of the zone. See what the 5 minutes doing. 5 minute break structure as well. We sort of have this 3 minute demand. This is a riskier setup, but still valid, so I would go from this. Target the high, see what happens there. Cool, so stop loss on that one. Like I said, I knew that was a lower probability setup anyway. Okay, so let's see what price wants to do now. The next demand I would look at would be this one, which price has just reacted from. Cool. Further break of the main structure. The next area I'd look at would be this one and this one as well. So see if price can pull back into this. Okay, so the first one just got blasted straight through. See what happens within this zone. Cool, so we got sweep at the bottom of the zone. Price created this area of demand. And we also broke this structure. So I'm gonna go ahead and set a limit on this zone, targeting the high. And I would delete this limit as well if price breaks the high before pulling back. So let's just see what happens if it pulls back or not. Play this on the higher time frame. There we go. See if price can break some structure. Cool, so we've now had a break of this internal structure. So if we were looking for a re-entry, I would look at this demand. However, I won't be able to make this initial one break even, so I wouldn't enter there. And price missed the level anyway, so that's fine. Cool, very clean trade. Sweep of demand, break of structure on the lower time frames, pull back into the demand which swept the liquidity. And let's see. Price is also within this daily supply. We have the one above as well. So yeah, I'm just going to be mindful of that price is in supply. The next demand I'd look at would be this one. Also just going to quickly get rid of some of these levels, just making it a bit messy. Alright, so how I'm potentially reading this is, like I mentioned, price is in that daily supply to the left. And you can see that this was the overall like higher low, they put in the higher high. This was the main demand, and the demand has clearly failed. So I'd consider this a demand failure. So we could see some sell positions here. And where could we see them from? Potentially this area of supply. Above this liquidity. So I'm going to monitor that. Play this on the higher time frame as well, so it's a bit quicker. Okay, so this zone is now invalid. Price has broken down a bit more. Just gonna see what happens here, because this to me does not look like a change of character to the downside, since all of this was just liquidity being built. So let's see if price can break. Yeah, so we broke some structure there again. All right, so that's what I would consider a full reversal. So this would be a 4-hour change of character. And the reason I'd consider this a full reversal is because we had a clear sweep of the initial sellers, followed by a breakdown in price. And you can see all of this momentum coming in as well. We clearly don't want to be buying against that. And it happened at this daily level of supply. In fact, price swept the top of that supply as well with this wick. So where could price come into now? If we go back to the weekly, I'm not too sure, so I'm just going to follow the 4-hour trend. And yeah, let's just let price build a little bit first, as I'm not seeing too much at the moment. Okay, so we've had a break of structure there. This now becomes the most recent lower high. Cool, and what I would look at now would be this zone. Since price swept this liquidity. And we could also look at some zones above as well, but I'm just going to monitor this one for the time being, see what happens. Okay, so that one failed, but like I mentioned, the next zone would be this area. Let's see what happens in there. This would be a 5-minute entry because it's a 30-minute point of interest. That area is looking nice. Reason being, we've had sweep of the high, break of structure to the downside. So we can set a limit on this area and target the current low. I'm going to have a bit of a bigger SL on that as well. And there we go. Once again, like I said, when you get these areas of supply which sweep all of the liquidity to the left. So in this case, this liquidity pool, and we also got a sweep of this high. It's like a weird thing where price cannot break past it. You can see we've had multiple rejections of it. So yeah, just looking to take price to the low now. I don't make any trades break even, by the way, so if this hits break even now, doesn't matter. Cool, and there we go. Very textbook setup. Sweep of liquidity into supply, lower time frame confirmation. Obviously we could have had a tight stop loss, but I prefer just to have 1 to 3, 1 to 4. That's all you really need. Cool, and I think this video is already long enough, but if you guys managed to make it to the end of this video, make sure to drop a comment below, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.